Hey everyone, uh, I'm glad to see you here on our YouTube channel, interested in watching our session. Before we go on with the session, I would just like to tell you a little bit about Codaplex, in case you're not aware. So, Codaplex is a non-profit organization that we are building with the mission to improve the state of tech education across India. And the way we aim to do that is by helping more and more people learn modern technologies, making it easier for them to learn various technologies and help them get a job or build their career in tech free of cost, right? So the what we do is we manage multiple developer communities and we organize frequent sessions on various topics. We invite speakers and we organize talk sessions, workshops on a range of topics from web development to mobile, data science, AI, security, privacy, cloud native, open source, everything basically. And we have about 15,000 people in total across all developer communities that we manage. And we also have a very active chat room. So you can join this chat room and share resources, ask questions. We have all different sorts of channels. We have a channel for posting job openings. We have a general discussions, important discussions sort of a channel, off-topic channel for casual conversations, upcoming events that are happening, open source related conversations. Then we have channels specific to different domains of tech like web dev, mobile, cloud native, various programming languages, computer science, AI, data science, decentralization, information security. If you're interested in any particular topic and you would like a channel dedicated for the topic, we can create that as well, depending on the level of engagement that we see in the community for that topic. So if you would like to join this channel, you can go to this URL, chat.codaplex.org. That is the invite link, and you should be able to see this chat room. You will have to sign up on Discord as well, and then you can see this chat room. And you'll be able to see all the other members who are online at that time as well. You'll be able to see me here as well, and you can message me directly on Discord as well if you would like to reach out to me. The next thing is, if you're not already a part of our meetup group, make sure you join that. The link for that is meetup.com/codaplex, as you can see. And you can join this meetup group and you will get updates for any future events, meetups that we organize because we post them here directly. You can RSVP to them here. The next thing is, so we are actively, since we organize so many events and sessions, we are constantly actively looking for tech speakers. So if you are interested in giving a talk on any topic, giving a session, a workshop, whatever, if you are interested in sharing your knowledge, or if you know anyone else who is a good speaker who's interested in speaking and sharing their knowledge, then I would suggest you to go to this link bit.ly slash HYD-tech-speakers, which should redirect you to this form. This is a form that is shared among pretty much most of the developer tech communities in Hyderabad. So if you submit this form, then any of these communities can reach out to you in the future to invite you to give a talk or session on any topic for any future offline online event. So make sure you check that out. And finally, I want to tell you about our crowdfunding campaign. So because we are a nonprofit organization and all the work we do is free of cost, and because we also do this work full time, we are trying to rely on donations from our community members to sustain ourselves and to keep doing the work we do. So if you personally find any value in the work we do, if you appreciate it, if you want to support it, then we would really appreciate if you would consider making a contribution. And honestly, it's not really about the amount that you contribute. It's more about the gesture of contributing because it shows us that we are doing some work that people are finding valuable, that they really appreciate, and they want to support, right? So even if it's a very, very small amount, it's absolutely fine because it validates our work and encourages us to keep going, keep doing the work we're doing. So you can go to this link, bit.ly slash support hyphen CPX, and it should redirect you to our crowdfunding page, which is donate.codaplex.org slash crowdfund slash support hyphen codaplex. And you can make a donation contribution here. It will charge you. So we have added 2.36%, which is the processing fee for the payment gateway we are using. And you should be able to see your name and contribution on the list here as well. If you face any issues with this page, you can reach out to me on Discord and let me know about it as well. So that's about it from my end. And also, finally, if you're interested in helping me or working with me in organizing any online sessions, you can reach out to me on Discord as well. We are looking for a few volunteers as well. So yes, that's about it from my end. And now we can go forward with the session. Thank you.
So this is Samira and I'm from ServiceNow. I've been into cloud native technologies and cloud domain for the past 3 years, and I'm very much passionate about technology, and I like building things out of that innovatively. So before getting started, I would just like to know if everybody is aware of the production kind of deployment. So let's get started. So today I'm going to talk about how to achieve zero downtime deployments for applications and enterprises and organizations. So for any software application to be accessible for any end user, you have to deploy it and make it available for end users. So however hard you try, the errors are preventive, but you could something might go wrong at any point of time. So there are different challenges while deploying your applications into production service. So if you can see, it's not just deployment. Post deployment also you have a lot of challenges like high availability, scalability, security, and these are just a set of problems or challenges that I've taken into consideration. But behind this, there are a lot of things that have a role to play while deploying. So today I'm going to concentrate on zero downtime problem. So whenever you deploy, you get messages like scheduled maintenance of Citibank or HDFC Bank. So these are some downtimes of your application, and where this will be a very negative give or negative impact, or the user impact is very much weighted for any business organization. So let's see how we can solve these particular problems through a set of deployment strategies. So I believe we write code, and this code is not just you write it to get the things done or the things work. You follow certain set of rules, you follow certain set of standards, and you follow certain patterns to achieve it the right way. So I think we have certain design patterns to write the legible code and to write it more productively. So for writing code, you have certain design patterns, but for deploying also you have certain deployment strategies where these are not just these doesn't guarantee you that you achieve a zero downtime deployment. In the sense, when I meant zero downtime, it's like 99.99%. It's because something can go wrong at any point of time. So even when cloud providers promise you that they would give a zero downtime, it's just the mark that it's 99.99%, because they cannot guarantee for the rest 0.1% where something might go wrong. So coming to the deployment strategies, these strategies are standards where you deploy and solve a lot of problems that DevOps teams will be facing, and these are some standard set of deployment strategies. Let's see what are those, and let's just dive into them. So to get started, what is a deployment strategy? So deployment strategy is not a complex term. It's just the way or the process that you adapt in your organization or in your team to deploy or upgrade an application to provide it to your end users in production. So this is just a simple terminology, and so there are a couple of strategies that we have, and the first strategy that we have is recreate. So recreate strategy is nothing but you have your application running. So let us suppose you have your application running and you have it user friendly, and you want your application to be upgraded. So there is V1 version of your application running, and you wanted your application to be upgraded to some V2. So how do you upgrade your application to the next version, or how do you provide some kind of patches? So in recreate strategy, what you're going to do is you get everything down and get back everything. It's like you deploy it as a whole unit. So you get everything down and you undeploy everything, and then you deploy everything, or you stop your server and then restart your server. So between the time of stopping or shutting down your infrastructure or your servers down, to the time it takes to boot up to your next version and get ready to serve the request is the downtime of your application. So this downtime duration varies from application to application, and this duration might affect your business requirements, and it might be very critical for certain businesses like banks. So downtime is very much critical for any business organizations. Even you have seen recent Google Gmail outages where the attachments have been not been able to send. So there can be outages, and outages are where it's unexpected downtimes. But while upgrading your application, if you have an intended downtime, it's clearly a negative aspect for your end users. So in recreate strategy, you get everything down. So it's like you have a set of servers or instances ready up and running. And to get your next V2 version, what you do is you bring down your instances or your servers, and then get everything back. After your servers are ready, up and running, then you point your load balancer to the servers that are up and running. So this way, you have your application deployed in the next version. So between the phase 1 and 4, you have the 2 and 3 phases, which are the downtime. So this downtime, actually, as I said, it depends the duration depends upon from the application, and there can be chance of failures between this process. So let's look at what are the pros and cons of this particular strategy while choosing for your organization. So as I said, deployment happens as a whole, and it is like you undeploy and redeploy everything. So the pros of this particular strategy is you get to set up very easily, and it doesn't have any prerequisites for your application to satisfy to proceed on. So it's like most of the applications, whatever kind of applications you have, will be suitable for adopting this particular strategy, and it's very easy. In with respect to VMs, if I talk, you just have to get your server, whatever server, web server or whatever server you have down, just stop it, upgrade your web application or whatever it is, upgrade your application and then restart your server. So it's very kind of simple enough that most teams will be able to adapt and proceed. But the cons of this particular strategy is the downtime. Downtime is like, as we see, it's a very negative impact to users. And the other most important thing with this particular strategy is rollbacks. Since you have got everything down and recreated everything up, you don't have any of your old stable version running parallelly, and you cannot point it back immediately. In order to, if in case of any failure, if you wanted to roll back, it's like you have to deploy again with your older version, and you have to recreate everything. So this is one of the main drawback that people see with respect to recreate strategy. Rollback and downtime are very critical for the applications which are going in this space of technology. So the next important strategy that we're going to talk about is rolling update. So rolling update is nothing but you have to do an incremental rollouts of your application. So it's like suppose if you have some 10 servers running in production, you do it incrementally one by one. Like first you do upgrade 1 and then 2 and then 3. So it's an incremental rollout. So it's like suppose here we have 3, and then out of 3 I upgraded it to V2, and the other 2 are running in your older version. And in the next state I upgraded this another one also to V2, and then I have left with one old instance, and at the last stage all your instances are upgraded to the higher version. So in rolling update you don't see a downtime. It's like at any point of time in the timeline your application is up and running either with your older version or with your new version. So this way the downtime can be prevented, unlike recreate strategy. So the impact of downtime is not so much in case of rolling update. But let's see what are the challenges that we are going to face in rolling update. So as I've discussed, rolling update is just an rollouts by replacing your older version with new ones. So the pros of this is you have zero downtime, and the setup is also kind of similar with a lot of orchestration tools that we have. Hello. Yeah. So the setup is also very easier with a lot of orchestration tools that we have in the market, like Kubernetes and all. The cons of this particular strategy are, since as we have seen, you have your V1 version and V2 version both running at the same time. That means your multiple versions are running in parallel. So you have to have backward compatibility of your versions. That means you have to serve, your application should be version based. You have to have your database migration smooth. You have to have your database migrations proper version. Your schema should be version. You have to have your APIs version. You have to have your client compatibility if you are migrating to a higher level version. So a lot of these things come into picture while you are deploying multiple versions in parallel, and this is the main reason that most of your applications are forced to use Recreate technology, because lots of legacy code will not be able to support these kind of principles because it's legacy. So this is one of the primary factors that people do adopt by default a Recreate strategy. So the next important thing is the rollbacks. As we have seen how we have rolled out incrementally to upgrade your application. So similarly, to come back to your previous version, the time it takes is often the same. So it's like, more often it may not be the same, but it is much slower when compared to the other strategies that we can think of in the coming session. But rollbacks are possible because you since you have moved from V1 to V2 in an incremental fashion. From incremental fashion, you have to come back to V2. Yes, you have your old stable version up and running, but it might take some time for it to be faced by users. So that is one of the disadvantages that we have with this particular strategy. The other important kind of con that we have is you don't have control of your traffic. So in this, if you have see, you have some clients connecting to V1, V2, and then unless and until you have proper stickiness, proper session stickiness enabled for your application, it would be really hard if you directly go with this particular strategy. Because let us suppose you are seeing, you have logged in and your request has gone to version 1 of your application, and then immediately the next request has gone to V2. It doesn't make any sense. It is not compatible. So a lot of session stickiness also has to be in place with your application to support all these things. So the control of traffic is not controllable here, whether however you hard you have your load balancing schemes and all. So those all kind of attributes play part in this particular rolling update strategy. So these are the cons with this particular strategy. The next important strategy that we are gonna and the most popular one among the deployment strategies is the blue green. So blue green deployment strategies is very simple. You have your application running up and running, and you have an identical twin of your production deployment running beside your existing production. Let us suppose you have your V1 version running, and I have an identical twin V1 running along with it. So what I do, I upgrade my V1 to V2 and then keep it aside without having that V2 application being user faced. Now what I do, I just switch my router or my load balancer or my switch just to shift the traffic from V1 to blue. Let us consider the existing environment that is being faced by users is a blue environment, and the upgraded version of your production like environment is a green environment. So what I do, I just shift the traffic from this particular blue to green. So what I do, I just the green is now the user facing environment, and then V1 will be sitting back. So what happens in this particular strategy is, now V2 will be up, now your users will be facing the newer version of your application without any downtime. You will have a very minimal downtime, that's like in the fraction of seconds the switch will take a time, but there are a lot of challenges in that making the switch. We'll discuss them later in the session. So that switch is the downtime, that is very minimal. But if you see, the V1 version is still sitting along with your production. So the main important reason for the older version to sit along with your new version is, suppose if something is wrong, some issue has happened or some blocker has been there, you have a you have some failure of your application, then it is very easier for you to roll back. So you already have your existing older version and stable version running. You just need to take a switch back to your application to your older version. That way your rollbacks are very simple in case of any failures. But once you believe your application is up and running and stable, and if you're confident enough that you don't need any rollbacks further, after you gain some confidence of your new application deployment, you can just ditch the particular older version and save some cost on the infrastructure. Later, you can just use the same infrastructure cost to upgrade it to V3, and this is a cyclic process, shifting your traffic from blue to green, and then green to blue, and then blue to green. So this way you maintain two production like environments simultaneously, and then you upgrade one, show it back to the user front, and then you upgrade ditch the other one, again upgrade. So this is a cyclic process. So this is a repetitive process that do or many of the organizations that follow this particular strategy, and among the deployment strategy, most of the people do adopt this kind of strategies. So as we have seen in the recreate strategy, we have the downtime, and in the rolling update strategy, we have the slower rollbacks. So these two problems have been solved in blue green. It's like you have faster rollbacks. It's a matter of switch of your router or your load balancer IP address, or it's just the rollbacks are faster. The rollout is also very faster rollout in the sense how fastly you can upgrade your application from the older version to the newer version. So that is the rollout. You have faster rollouts and you have faster rollbacks. And in this case, since you already have a production like environment in hand within your organization, before releasing it to the customers or your end users, you can test it full-fledgedly before it is user-faced. So that is one of the biggest advantage that you have along with the other two. So these are the three pros of your blue-green strategy, and the disadvantages of adopting this strategy is the cost. You have to have double the amount of infrastructure that you need for a production environment. Suppose you have some uh, 10 servers running. You need to have 20 servers running to adopt this particular strategy, and that would be a cost factor for your organization or for your business requirement. So before adopting this particular technology, this is a primary factor that you have to take into consideration. The next important con is the switch has to be very smooth. So there can be challenges where some of the clients or users will be connecting to your version one, and there are some requests or there are some tasks that are going on in the backend, and users are still waiting for that some long running task. And when you make the switch, if your application, it's just a minimal or fractional amount of downtime. When you make that switch, users connection will be gone. I mean, that you have to handle that particular existing connections, or you have to handle the stale connections that are already in place. So that switch has to be smooth when you have to keep that in mind. When you're doing that switch, you have to serve your existing request, terminate it very gracefully, and then switch the new users to the next version. So that is a primary con of this particular blue-green deployment. So the next particular deployment we have is Canary. So Canary is also very widely used in large-scale enterprises, like most of the e-commerce or your OTT platforms. So Canary and there's another strategy which is very widely used. So Canary name is actually derived from the mining practices, where canary is a bird. So this particular bird will be sent into the mine to see if there are any harmful poisonous gases or not, and then based on the status of that bird, the miners will just decide whether they have to go to mining or not. So canary is just used as a risk factor for mining. Similarly, when you that analogy has been picked up from this mining and applied to the deployment strategies, where your newer version is not completely user faced 100%. It's only it's only promoted to only a subset of users where only 5% or 10% of users will be facing the new application, and the rest all will be still be using your older version. So this way, it's like you are analyzing or you are verifying the amount of risk that you are weighing by releasing the newer version. So it's like I can decide the ratio based on my users, based on my organization, based on the infrastructure that I have. So I can do it like 90-10 or 95 or 5, whatever I have. So let us suppose in the initial stage of your V1, your 100% traffic is being routed to the V1 version of your application. And then with Canary deployments, some of my users will be seeing the V2 version of my application, and some of my users will be seeing the older version of my application. So how the traffic is being routed based on users, are there a set of attributes to consider, that like you can see the timings where there are less number of users to route to this particular, based on geographical location or based on certain attributes like less frequent users. So there are a lot of other factors that influence to which particular set of users that this particular 5% traffic has to be routed to. So after you gain confidence with this particular subset of users, you incrementally roll out. Suppose you do it 95 and 5, and then once you gain confidence with 5%, you release it to 10% of users. After you release it to 10% of users, and then you incrementally do it some 80%, and then you do it 60%. So how much weight you can how much amount of percentage of weight that you have is up to your choice, based on the organization. Later I can do it 50-50, and that is completely of our control. After you gain complete confidence of your version upgrade, you can roll out 100% of traffic shifted to a particular new version. So this is just to measure how much risk you are releasing with the newer application. This is just to measure the risk. So Canary is nothing but you're shifting your traffic to multiple versions of the environment based on some weight. So the pros of this particular deployment strategy is new version is faced only by a subset of users instead of releasing it to a broader public base. That is one important, so that all are not affected. And then it's mainly used I mean, the best case scenarios where people use Canary is to test feature validations. So a lot of application development teams use feature toggles, whether this particular feature is enabled for this particular user or not. So not for user but version also. So there are feature toggles, that is a controllable mechanism to function your features in your application. So mainly it's suitable for doing these kind of validations with respect to feature toggles. And it's also having faster rollbacks, because in this case, if your 5% of traffic is not suitable, not satisfied with the newer version upgrade, it is just routed back to your older V1 version. So that these are the advantages that we have with Canary, and the disadvantages that we face with Canary are the definition of rules and protocols to which subset of users has to have, how the traffic has to be shifted, how the geographical location influence, what are the rules that I have to follow, what are the protocols. These are kind of difficult to maintain and monitor and trace. So it's like some request has an issue. How do you trace whether it has come from this particular user or this particular version? The tracing, monitoring, the observability aspects of your deployment is kind of tricky when it comes to Canary. And similarly, as rolling update, you have multiple versions being deployed simultaneously. So backward compatibility and version compatibility are a must to adopt this particular strategy. I hope everybody is getting. If anybody is not following up, just pause me. I'll just elaborate on that. The next particular deployment strategy that we are going to see is A/B testing. So, more than a deployment strategy, this is a strategy for verification of your application. So, this strategy seems to be very much alike to Canary. It's like you release the version only to a subset of users, just like Canary. It's like you, but the motive behind A/B testing and Canary is very much different. It's like you're validating your application uh, instead of so it's like in Canary you are measuring the risk factor of your application, but in A/B testing it's not a risk factor. It's like you're measuring whether you're building the right application or not. So it's just between the conversation of building the right things versus building the things right. So in Canary, it's like you're checking whether you have built the things right or not, whether your application is working as per the expected behavior or not. But in A/B testing, it's not that. It's like you're validating whether you have built the right application or not. It's mostly kind of useful whether in cases where you have major UI changes, major user experience level changes. So to validate these kind of features, mostly A/B testing is being used. So in a real case scenario, I could give an example where your Flipkart or Amazon release your offers prior to the Prime members, much before to the actual users. So it's like the Prime members will be the subset of users who will see the actual offer section of your Great Indian Sale or whatever it is, and after one day, the remaining amount of users will see the other users of Amazon or Flipkart will see the actual version. So this can be a typical real case scenario for A/B testing, where you're just validating whether you're building the right things for your application or not. So the motive is just the difference, but routing the subset of users, everything is just kind of same. So to the pros and cons seems to be very much similar, but the since the motive is different, it you have a better benefits here. So you have pros as like you have been running multiple versions of your application, and your user you get a lot of feedback from users before rolling out it to the all users, such like Canary. And as Canary, here also the troubleshooting and tracing and the monitoring aspect is kind of difficult, and the traffic routing, configuring the route definitions, the more or less the same kind of advantages and disadvantages come into place with respect to A/B testing also. So the next and the last deployment strategy today we're going to talk about is the shadowing or the mirroring deployment strategy. So in shadowing mirroring strategy, you get your V1 application, and all the traffic will be routed to V1 application. So it's like your traffic is routed to V1, and similarly your traffic is routed to V2. So the request, suppose a user has sent a request to particular V1 request. In the backend, the request has also been routed to the V2 of your application. But the only difference is users will be served with the response of your older version and not with the newer version. So the response will not be served from the newer version. So it's like so your response is just served from the existing stable version of your application. So in this this way, it's like you're shadowing or mirroring your user traffic to the next version, so that your production ready application is being tested with the real time traffic. So that those are the important factors that are considered while doing the shadowing. So the pros of this is you get to have the real time production testing, and you don't have any user impact because users will not be able to see what you're doing at the back end, whether you're routing it to multiple production environments or not. And it's very much reliable, and it has very much faster rollouts because you have real time production testing, and since you just need to switch your traffic between the load balancer, you have faster rollouts and faster zero downtime aspects even in the shadowing and mirror strategy. The cons of this particular strategy are you require a lot of mocking of services. It's like suppose you are having Amazon, and you have sent an order or your payment request, and then suddenly what happens in the shadowing strategy, another payment request has been sent in the V2 of your application. The debit should not happen. So lot of mocking of services, lot of infrastructure will be required for maintaining this, adopting this particular strategy, and it's very kind of complex setup because everything has to had to be taken place, because you will have state. How do you handle the DB migrations? How do you handle the schemas? How do you upgrade your clients? So all these kinds of attributes come into picture. So these are the cons with this particular strategy. I hope everybody is clear up to this point. So, I mean, these are the some of the best strategies that we have to in the I mean, proven strategies that we have. So, the most important thing is choosing the right strategy. Hello, I mean, hello, hello.
Yeah, we can hear you, Samira.
I mean, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
I mean, I just okay, okay. So the most important decision while choosing the strategy, I mean, choosing the right strategy is very important for organizations. So it's like it has to be chosen based on your needs and based on your business requirements, and not because it's like it's used widely and it's like it's popular. So there are certain factors and there are certain attributes that have to be considered while choosing the right strategy. Let us look at what factors that influence while choosing a deployment strategy. So the first and foremost thing is the design and architecture and the application compatibility while choosing a deployment strategy is very much important. So as we have seen in couple of strategies, that backward compatibility and version compatibility is very much required for an application to be compatible enough to adopt that particular strategy. So it's like when you roll out multiple versions of your application, like in Canary or rollout strategies, it's like you have to have your service and client and server compatible. Your client versions and your server versions should be compatible enough. You have to have with DB migrations. You have to have your schema migrations. You have to do all these things before you have to have your API's version. So all these things are very much important for multiple versions of your applications to be up and running at the same time. So if your application is not very much compatible with this particular factor, then it's like you're most likely to use the recreate strategy, because you don't like to face the after effects or the impacts of this using the adopted new technologies, and because of choosing a wrong strategy, you face the consequences. So it's very much a forced decision for most of the enterprises or organizations because of this factor that they choose the recreate strategy. So the next important factor is statefulness of your application. So I guess 99% of your most of the applications do have state in the form of database, or in the form of some cloud storage, or in the form of some file system. So it's like you have some state in your application, and handling that statefulness with respect to the deployment strategy and upgrades is very much important and vital for any organization. It's because you cannot roll out a particular version without doing a DB migration. So once you are rolling out incrementally in your rollout strategy and you do your DB migration, the older version is still not compatible with your schema, and your newer version is serving. So only those users who are serving through the newer version will be able to serve once your DB has been upgraded. So handling proper statefulness so is very much important. Like suppose you have some foreign key reference of a table, and you have some column added, or if you have some column removed, then that should be fine, because adding and removal doesn't make any difference with respect to your older strategy. But if you have some column renamed in your newer version, then your older version is not compatible. So make sure you do your version schema updates as per your deployment strategy if you are running multiple environments in parallel. So that is one of the key factor that you choose that you have to consider while adopting your deployment strategy, statefulness. And the third important aspect in this section is legacy code. So most of the applications do choose a recreate with downtime is because they have their legacy code, because they don't support a lot of backward compatibility and all. So in this modern development, with monolithic architecture and all, people don't support microservices and all. It's like you are forced to use the recreate strategy with legacy code. But if you still wanted to have zero downtime and you still wanted to have legacy code, then it's a choice between downtime versus implementing it compatible application wise. So that is one of the primary factors that you have to consider. There are a lot of other things that we can just but these are the primary things that you have to take care. And the next important section is the business requirements. So having our application always up and running, the high availability factor. So it's like very much critical for a lot of businesses these days, because most of the applications or softwares, like even if you have a one time of downtime, it affects the end users dramatically and their businesses. So having high availability is one of the key factor for many businesses. So meeting this particular high availability is one of the primary factor, and zero downtime requirement also will is also one of the consequence of this particular factor. So based on the weightage of this particular factor, you have to choose your strategies. If this is very important for any business organization, then you have to choose among the rest of the five strategies other than the recreate, because you cannot survive with recreate because it has downtime. So that is one of the other factors that you can consider. And the next important factor is the rollback duration. Rollback and high availability, kind of, you can say, like rollback is mainly useful when you're while you're upgrading your application, you have any failures. So it's like during rollbacks, if you see any failures, you have to immediately go back to your older stable version. So during that time, if you see the duration is very long enough, if you say take some 2-3 hours to roll back to your previous version, then it's again a waste of amount of time. So rolling back is also a very much important factor for organizations to choose. So if you wanted to have faster rollbacks, then it's better to choose blue, green, and shadow strategies, because the rollbacks are very much faster because it's just a switch of your older to newer version application. So that is very important. And the rest other thing is cost. Since blue, green, and shadow strategies do have double the infrastructure than the rest, the cost is very much likely to double that you spend on you're maintaining your service. So if it is a financial concern for your business of your organization, so that is also one of the important factor that you can consider from in terms of business requirements. So the next important thing is user impact. So the downtime, so how much is the impact with downtime with respect to users? Are your users, if you see downtime of your application, are your users dissatisfied? How much business are you likely to lose? So all these things play a part in this particular user impact. So if you are having a really a negative impact of users because of your application downtime, then it's very much likely that you have to choose a zero downtime strategy. So that is one important factor. And feedback. So if your application is likely to get feedbacks from particular users, it's very much if it's that is very much critical for your application maintenance and all. You can choose strategies like Canary and AB, because before rolling out to the entire public base, you get feedback from a subset of users. So that is one important factor that you can also consider while choosing your deployment strategy. So I've sorted out the uh, strategies with respect to the factors. So it's like the other two I can say is like the deployment process that you already have in your organization. So how do you test your application? What is the quality of engineering? What is the acceptance testing that you're doing? All these things also play while choosing your strategy. So what is the complexity of your deployment process? Are you using some older technologies, or are you using Jenkins, or are you using some container orchestration tools? All these things play a part. And also with respect to the readiness of your new adoption. So how much are you ready to adopt that particular strategy? and the other least important thing is the time, skill, and the technology of your organization. If your organization doesn't have skilled resources who can just migrate your legacy code to your newer applications, that is one of the business criteria that they have to take. But it is very much less likely, less important factor, but that is also very much thing that you have to consider. So these are some of the factors that you have to consider while choosing your strategy. These are very high level, but when you choose a strategy much down, you have to dig into much deeper aspects of it. So, till now we have seen the theoretical aspect of what these strategies are, what are the best practices, what are the standards, what are the factors and attributes. Let's see how these factors influence in terms of cloud native technologies like Kubernetes and Service Mesh. So, for people who are unaware of what Kubernetes is a container orchestration platform where you get a lot of benefits. I mean, it's just one. So it's like I can briefly say in one word, it's just a container orchestration platform for a lot of for your applications. And Service Mesh is a technique or a tool where you all your microservices are connected, like you have mesh topology, right? So it's like all your services are connected through a network kind of topology in a mesh topology, and it provides a lot of other aspects like service discovery, load balancing, traffic shifting, routing, circuit breaking, everything, all other tracing, monitoring, a lot of other aspects. So any kind of interaction or communication that you wanted to have with your microservices can be provided through Service Mesh. So this is just a brief note of what Kubernetes and Service Mesh is. So let's see how this. So one important point that I want to mention: when your application is using a legacy code, you have a lot of challenges to adopt these kind of new strategies, because everything has to be implemented from scratch. But if your application is cloud native and your so it's like choosing a deployment strategy is not just in the DevOps phase or your day one or your day two phase. It should start from your day zero. It should start from how you design and architect your application. So both go hand in hand. It's like when you have cloud native compatible applications, it's very much likely that you've got a lot of software to you get a lot of cloud native tools which do all this kind, which automate all these strategies with minimal inputs. So the amount of burden that resources or your DevOps team will have is very much less. So let's see in terms of Kubernetes how the strategies can be implemented. So, as we saw, recreate strategy is very much likely that Kubernetes by default provides. So, in your deployments, when you say your spec, so if you have spec in your YAML spec, when you deploy your pod, if you describe your deployment strategy type as recreate, Kubernetes will automatically bring all your pods down and recreate all your pods up. So this is one of the strategy type by default Kubernetes is providing. So you don't have much, you don't need to put much effort to adopt recreate strategy in Kubernetes. But if your application is not compatible with all these things, then you have to do all by yourself. The next important thing is rolling update. So if you have rolling update, your applications strategy type should be set as rolling update. And two important primary factors are the max unavailable and the max surge. So max available attribute is actually defines that how many number of pods should be unavailable before upgrade has been happened, and max surge is how many maximum number of pods has to be there before your entire application has been entire pod or your deployment has been upgraded. So based on these two factors, based on your requirement, based on the fastness, based on how much fast you have to roll out, based on how much infrastructure you have, you can tweak these particular parameters and do a rolling update in terms of Kubernetes. So Kubernetes by default has this 25% and this as 1. So that is how the default values are set. So with Kubernetes, by default, you will be able to get your recreate and rolling update strategies without any without following any complex procedures. And with blue, if you wanted to adapt blue green in Kubernetes, I would suggest Service Mesh. So it's like in your application version, you have your labels as app and your version as V1. And in your V2 application, I just changed my version as V2. That's the only change, and the other image changes, whatever artifact changes you have, can be changed. So one of the primary advantages that we have taken from Kubernetes is Kubernetes associates any resource through labels, mostly the primary resources like your pod and your deployment, your pod and your replica set, or your pod and your stateful set, or your pod and or your deployment and service, whatever it is. So it mostly associates resources with labels rather than names. So we can take this particular thing as an advantage and do blue green. I'll show the demo how we can use how blue green can be done in Kubernetes. So from the service mesh layer, I've used virtual service. So virtual service is just as the name implies, it's a virtual service. It's like it is sitting just right in front of your service in the in the mesh topology. So any request that comes to your service will be passing through virtual service based on the routes and the destination rules that you have configured on the virtual service. So that is how we will be able to achieve blue green. So a lot of tools are available in the market to achieve these kind of strategies. Like Flagger is one of the tool from Weaveworks, which will where you will be able to do canary deployments, and it's very much minimal with service mesh. Service mesh is with service mesh you also need to do. You will be able to do by default. It's like a raw way. With Flagger, you can much more automate, and Spinnaker is another tool where you can just automate these kind of deployment strategies. But most of them are automating the stateless apps. With respect to statefulness workloads, you will have to have some complex procedure to automate. So let us take a look how this particular deployment strategy. I'm demoing blue-green deployment strategy and how this looks in terms of Kubernetes. So I hope everyone is able to see my terminal, not the PPT. If yes,
Yeah, we are able to see.
yeah, sure. Thanks. Thanks, Kapil. So I just made one Azure cluster up and running in Kubernetes. So I have Istio installed, Istio system, Istio node, and Istio public. So I have my Istio cluster. So if you guys you see my Istio, I have certain pods in Istio. No, okay, let me install. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. I'm just installing Istio. So this particular Istio will be installed in the Istio system namespace. So it will just take a couple of minutes. So to brief out what Istio is a service mesh, as I have discussed here in the uh, Istio is a service mesh, so it's like the mesh network that we have talked of. So there are other service mesh which are available in the market like Linkerd and Microsoft's SMI. So Istio is from which is available from Google. So I've been using Istio for this particular demo. So it installs certain CRDs through the way. Might just take some time. Yeah. So if you see, I will have certain set of pods installed in my particular Istio, and I have only few namespaces. I don't have anything. So for demoing, I have created a sample application, and I have my V1 and V2 version. So I'm deploying this particular applications in two namespaces called blue and green, just to say that we will be able to understand. So I'm just creating a namespace called blue, and now let me create another namespace called green. So in order, now I have created the two namespaces, both the namespaces are created. Now Istio has to watch this particular namespaces. So what I'll do, I'll just label that it has to be watched. So I'll watch. I will just have to add one label as Istio injection enabled. So if I just add this particular label, Istio will just watch that particular namespace. So let me add it to green and green. So now that both my namespaces are created and they're being watched by Istio, let me deploy my sample application. So if you see, I've created a V1 app. Uh, Let me just show what's it. So I just have a simple deployment. I just created a sample app, some request info. It's just when you hit a request, you get back what are the request headers and some metadata of it. And I'm just deploying it with environment variable where the version is printed through this particular value. And I've just created a service to point this particular deployment. So, and this guy will just point it to cluster IP. So this is a simple application. So I'm just deploying it. So to just see, this particular application is being deployed in green. That means it's my V1. It is being faced by users. So I'm just deploying V1. So both my applications are deployed. Now let's see what's V2. So in V2, I haven't changed my application. The version will be just picked from my environment variable, and the same version application is being used. Similarly, the deployment service are being projected. So I'm just applying my V2, and this guy will be sitting inside my blue environment. So if you can see, my green up is up and running. I have certain pods in my green environment. Sorry. And now with my V2, my blue also should be up. So there are some pods in my blue environment. So this is also up and running. So till now I have two environments, blue and green, but there is no Istio to watch and there is no Istio to route. So I'll just apply the Istio. So I'll just to the HTTP YAML. So I will be creating an API gateway, which is the entry point of the HTTP services. It will watch for the host on star on port 80, and when the host star meets this API gateway is used, and the routing rules are like when you're distributing the weight as 0 and 100. Similarly, if you wanted to use canary, you can distribute just the same way. You can distribute the weight between your two environments like 5 and 95 or 10 and 90. So just I'm saying in my green environment now, what I do is so what I do is, in my green environment, since it's my first user-facing environment, I'm using my green. That means it's my V1 application. It will be routed. All my 100% traffic will be routed to green. So let's apply this and see what happens. So I have to use my Istio gateway to this because both my applications are not exposed. Everything is coming from the Istio gateway. So I'll fetch the IP from my Istio API gateway. So I've got one IP. So since it's an 8P port, I will not be using. Let's see. So I have some demo app that is running. Let's see what is the version that it has. So my green is running on 1. So how many ever times you hit it, it goes to green only. That is the version 1. So what I do now, I change my traffic weight to 0 to 100. I'll just shift. This is just the shift of traffic. So it's 0 and I gave my blue to 100. It's just shift and I just apply my HTML. That's it. I'm not going to do anything. And now if I just try this, it's going to hit version 2 of my application. So it's just, you see, don't have any downtime. It's just that fraction of a second where you just, it's a still a downtime, like it's just routing, very, very much, very minimal. You just route it through Istio. That's it. So yeah, that's it from the demo side. So the key takeaway is you have to choose the right strategy by giving the right preferences to your right factor of your attributes, considering your business requirements and application into picture. So thank you guys. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. You can reach out to me on Twitter at Samira Trendy and GitHub. I work for HighScale. It's a DevOps automation tool which automates the entire deployment process through Kubernetes. So you can check out my work here.